хочу оголосити наступного спікера. Це є Віталій Засадний. Привітаємо його. І, мабуть, сідайте поближче.
User acquisition. Whenever you are a game studio or an indie developer, sooner or later you are going to face it. Because we like to develop games, we like the process, especially if you are indie developers. But at some point we have to get our money back, because we have to live somehow. And the way how to get the money back, we need to have our users who are going to pay this money. And there are two options that can happen. In one scenario, your DAO trends will look like this. You will invest maybe some money in your promotion and marketing, but after that it's going to get flat. And daily active users trends are not going to go up. Other situation looks much more prospective, and your DAO is just going to go skyrocket, you're going to earn millions, and everything will be good. Let's play a quick game of hands. Who of you want to be on the left side? Who of you face the left side? Who published your game, but at some point the growth stopped, and there are some people. Today on this presentation I want to share you our experience and the experience of our clients of how to avoid situation on the left and how to transform your game and your analytics dashboards to what we see on the right. But before we go to get there, let's figure the quick question: who the hell I am, and why I can speak here in front of you. My path into game development started actually here in Lviv about 5 or 6 years ago. I joined a small game studio called Many. I doubt that anybody heard about it, but maybe you heard about a game studio called Enravel. Whatever. Okay, at least I know one person that was working with Enravel and was selling traffic to us. But we were a game studio, and at some point we were even the biggest game studio in Ukraine. Like, there were good times when we had like over 120 people here in Lviv, but good times change, and now Enravel is not that big. But that's not the story about what I want to share about. I was working on Techno games, I was working on mobile games, I was working on 3D games. Here in the image you can actually see a presentation of the game called, wrong button. Hey, it's 3D mobile MMO game that we developed together with Higlinet. He is somewhere here also at the conference. Besides that, I was one of the founders of initial game development community in Lviv, which was based on our company. We had a couple of meetings. We ran like, for about a year. We had around 10 meetings or something like that, and it was quite active community. But then the crisis came. The company started to decline. We didn't have time, and at some point I had to move to the Netherlands. And now I am working for an amazing company called GetSocial. We at GetSocial, we believe that game developers don't pay enough attention and don't leverage the full power of social interactions between players in their games. And what we try to solve, to show developers how they can leverage the social interactions, and we build tools for them. First of our clients who believe in what we believe and use our tools and get some quite good results out of it, like Robio, like Glue, Genix. Like, if you want to check our tools, I highly recommend to download games from Genix Labs. It's Vietnamese developer. It's an amazing game about kitties. If you like kitties and you like Match 3, you are going to like this game. But talk is not about it. Talk is about user acquisition. And let's talk why it is hard. Is it really hard? The truth is that app space is insanely crowded. Only on App Store, every day, more than 700 games is published. On Android, the amount even bigger, but I didn't find any good data out of it. And even if you are going to get to that market and you want to buy new users, you want to buy traffic, it's insanely expensive and it's getting worse. Around this time last year, the price for one high quality user that is going to stay in your game in popular markets like United States, like Canada, like Australia was almost $4. Now, according to Chartpus data, the price dropped a bit and is around $3. But again, imagine how many people you have to buy to just get the cost back of the development. It's insane. Also, which is even worse, that's the data that Vasil shared. People don't stay in your game. If you are an amazing game and you are in a top 10 list, Google Play published statistics that day 3 retention is 80%. But you have to get to these top 3 games, and after 3 days of usage, you lose 86% of your users. Which is also not that bad, because if you were on the presentation of Mike from Amazon, the most part of the developers, as I remember, 56% of your revenue is going to come from those 50% of players who are going to stay after these 3 days. But we can do better. And now we are going to talk about main mistakes that you can make when you are preparing to user acquisition and when you are doing your user acquisition. First of steps that I wanted to highlight, which is App Store optimization, was perfectly covered 2 presentations ago, but if you were not there, let's quickly run through it. The most popular way of discovering app at the moment is just browsing the App Store, browsing through categories, some forums, and you need to make sure that your description, your title, all your screenshots are perfectly aligned and perfectly showcase what is your game about. And you need to find something catchy. If you want to find something catchy, you have to create either a unique description or use keywords. And the importance of using keywords is very often overlooked. My presentation is not about App Store optimization poorly. You can find much more information about this in the internet, but that's the first and the most important point that you have to pay attention to. One quick example about keywords. If you just try to, everyone knows Clash of Clans, right? If you just type Clash of Clans in the search, even big studios like EG.com or Alex Wireless, they use just the same words that Clash of Clans, and they get the traffic from people who was too lazy to type Clash of Clans completely. Are there illegal guys somewhere here? Okay, good. I checked this word is not copyrighted, because if you want to use Saga, you can actually get into problems, but word Clash is not under any trademarks, so feel free to use it if you want to get some random traffic. But it's just an example of that big companies are also using that. Okay, moving next. When you acquire user, don't even think, or preferably avoid as much as possible sign in on the early stages. According to a lot of UX researchers, basically this data comes from foolproof UX. You will lose 56% of your users if your login sucks. Basically, if the first thing that your users see in your game is login button and it's not easy, you are going to lose a customer with a chance of 50%. That's not what you want, especially if you paid for this user $3 just a moment before. A few suggestions how you can simplify it or make it better. Defer your sign-in as much as possible. Assign a unique identity to a user, but keep user anonymous. You can pass tutorials, user can pass first few levels, fully working on anonymous login. You will still keep all the analytics data because you will track it anonymously, but don't force users to log in. And even if you want to provide sign in as much as possible because you need some social features when your game is tightly bounded to Facebook or whatever reason you will find for yourself. Try to make it as seamless as possible. Provide social logins, leverage logins through Google Play Games. Whatever is viable to make sign-in as easy as possible. Next, a tutorial. You have to educate your players. And by educating, I mean you have to show the core gameplay, you have to show how to purchase games, how to make purchases inside the game, you have to show all main core mechanics. When you were developing Game, the 3D MMO game at Enrayo, we spent over half a year just developing tutorial to make sure that our users will understand what to do in the game, why it should make them excited, and why they should get back to the game. Again, using the data from presentation of Mike, if you are going to show your user how to purchase things inside the game, in the list of top 50 games, they improved their revenue by 2.5%. So basically, if you show users how to buy something in your game in the tutorial, in a moment later, or in their lifetime value, they will increase the revenue by 2.5%. 2.5 times. Think about it, it's huge. And one simple thing to implement. Andrew Chung, it's a guy who is responsible for almost all tactics about growth hacking in Google, said that onboarding experience is the most important. And that's basically true. We see that all successful games, they start with tutorials. All successful apps start with tutorials. Don't miss this and don't overlook. And by the way, about Andrew Chung, who is following his blog? I highly recommend. This guy is, he's working at Uber, and he's responsible for social growth, but besides this guy is super connected. He has a very tight connection with the game industry, and he has his blog where he publishes all the insights from the industry about how big players improve their retention, how big players improve revenue, what is coming next, and things like this. And if you want to be up to date in game development industry about like business part, I highly recommend to follow this guy. Another useful website is User on Board. This site provides reviews for onboarding processes of your game or applications. One of my favorite reviews is for Super Mario Run. Like, we all know Nintendo, it's like this big ass guys that has like 20, 30 years of game development experience. But if you check their review, it's like 70 slides presentation, you understand that their onboarding process sucks. Like, they did all the mistakes that I mentioned before. They provide terrible experience on the sign-in, they provide terrible UI, their tutorial doesn't explain anything. It's like, wow, if such a big players is doing such stupid mistakes, like how many of indie developers is doing exactly the same? But let's not stop on the sad part, let's move on. Second, the time falls quickly. First point that I wanted to talk about is using word of mouth. If you'll get back to the graphic I showed before, second most common way of finding about new applications is basically from your friends, from references. It's stupid to overlook this opportunity. Something that we found from our internal data. Okay, I hope you didn't read the slide yet. If you want to implement social sharing, like to provide users an ability to share a word about your game inside your application game, how you are going to do that? Any options from the audience? What you are going to integrate? If you want to let your users to share, like link, hey, come and play to the game, what you are going to implement?
Facebook API.
Facebook API, exactly. That's what everyone is doing, and everyone thinks that it's working. But We saw it on the small game developers, we saw it on the big game developers. Facebook is almost nobody is using Facebook. Main reason is now we get so many trash in the Facebook, like notifications, from Facebook, from comments, from likes, some advertisement, that nobody pays attention to in-app invitations in Facebook. They're very poorly implemented, they're available only on mobile, and very few users are actually using that. Look at data. 88% of users prefer to invite friends over WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Not via Facebook, via WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. 88% of users. Facebook, like the things that almost everyone is implementing, takes more than 10%. It's like, in some games it's like 2%. Facebook, WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, that's what you have to integrate. And talking about social interactions, that's where it gets interesting. What we are trying to what we suggest our clients to implement is something called hook model. There is a guy called Nir Yeval. He wrote the book Hooked. Who was reading this book? Okay, basically this is a book about behavioral patterns of your users. It's a book that describes and provides a structured information why users are your users. Why do they stay in your game? And what, if you take a very short extract, all book is about this picture. Something is called hook model or viral loop. It consists from 4 main parts. First is a trigger. Trigger is something that brings users into your game. There are 2 types of triggers, external and internal. An example of external trigger is email notification, like promotions that you were running. It could be a billing icon in the drawer of the in the menu of your phone. Too much talking today. It can be push notification. It can be anything that stimulates your sensorial feelings or your visual feelings, your sound sensations or something like that. It should be something physical. Internal triggers, on the other hand, it comes from your internal will. It can be a social competition because we want to be better than someone. It's not external trigger, it's something that comes from inside of us. Later we'll talk how to implement it better. The things that you need to understand, the role of external trigger is to create a behavior. A behavior of users that later we are going to leverage in the next steps. Internal triggers will help us on the next loops of the viral loop. Action. Action is something that we want user to do. It can be a login to your application, it can be a social in-app purchase, it can be like in a Facebook, it can be whatever actions that we need to get from the user. Next, when we got user into the game, we got some action from the user, we come to a variable reward. And the key part of the variable reward is variable. Think about this example. You are hungry, you are just staying at home, and who tend to check fridge? There is the dinner is like in 2 hours, there is nothing to eat. Okay, I'll check it later. You again check, nothing. Okay. But at some point you'll understand that fridge doesn't change much in 15 minutes, and it gets boring. Instead, imagine how amazing it would be if you open the fridge, there is fried chicken. Wow. Okay, I don't want fried chicken, you close the fridge in 15 minutes, walking, you're checking, there's a cake. You take a cake and you are like, wow, what am I going to get next time? Reward should be variable. Variable reward makes your user excited. If you check how it's working in the games, did you invite any of your users through game? Like, did you invite any of your friends to play the same game as you're playing?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so usually you get something different after that.
Yeah.
You can get gold, or from time to time you get some in-app purchase for free, or anything else. So some game developers, mostly top game developers, understand this, and they each time give you a different reward. Very easy to implement, gives a big change in the results later. Next part is investment. Investment in real life, it's something like you get married. You open a bank account somewhere. It's something, it's a long commitment. It's a thing that if you commit to do something, it keeps you there. It makes you get better, get back and again to your game. Or think about it in a different way. You started a Google account, right? And you have all your contacts in the Google account, all your purchases are attached to Google account. You don't want to lose this Google account, right? That's the investment. That's the part of the hook where you have to get. Why we need investment? It brings people back and makes the next loop possible. Whoops, I get too far. So after the investment, we are getting again either to external trigger and go to a next loop until we'll get to the point where external trigger is not needed and user will keep getting to a game because of internal trigger. It can be a social competition, for instance. The easiest way to implement. Leaderboards are available everywhere. They're available through Google Play that you're going to integrate most likely in any case. They're available on App Store. It's easy to integrate. Okay, let's move next. Let's look at some examples how big companies are using that. For instance, Pinterest. For triggers, they use marketing or push notifications, something like that. Something that brings user into the game. Next, we get into the action. Their key action is login. When user logs into the game, he gets a small reward. He can easily import his friends list and check what his friends are pinging, what is interesting his friend. Like, it's a reward for a user for logging in. Or user can just browse top trends or something like that, that keeps him engaged. Next, when we get to the investment step, it's when the user pins something. Like, if you are a user of Pinterest, it's a service that lets you save some useful links, useful images that you can use later. It's basically save for later feature, but in a social network scale. And they use investment of you saving, you putting your favorites in the Pinterest. And you don't want to lose data you don't want to lose the sites, the links, the images that you saved in the Pinterest. And it will make you come back, either to pin more or to check the links that you pinned before. And after that, they are getting, again, to push notifications. Your friend pins something else. You, again, log into the game, you checked, okay, my friend pinned this, you check a few other friends because you have a few minutes time, you pin more stuff from your friends list, and you again to the next loop, to the next loop, to the next loop. At some point, you'll start getting into Pinterest not because your friend pinned something and you got a push notification, but because you want, like, you are afraid to lose content. You want to check your content again. You got your favorite feeds. You want to check if there is something interesting there. That's what you want to get. You want to make behavior stick. You want to get to the, you want to develop a behavior of user of internal triggers. Okay, something more relevant for today conference. Pokemon Go. Who was playing Pokemon Go? Okay, how did they implement that? First, word of mouth and brand AP. Everyone knows about Niantic. Okay, a lot of people knows about Niantic Labs. Almost everyone knows about Pokemon Go. I was watching Pokemons when I was a child. I'm pretty sure that 90% here were watching Pokemons and were like, Pokeball, Pikachu, and stuff like that. So, word of mouth and branded IP rights. It served as an external trigger for Nintendo for Pokemon Go. Next, when you get into the game, their key action was to make you walk, to go around the city, to explore, to find Pokemon. When you catch a Pokemon, the variable rewards for walking around the city, you find a Pokemon, most likely it's not Pikachu, but still you find some Bulbasaur or anyone else, it's your reward. You walked for 20 minutes, you found the Pokemon you were looking for. You catch the Pokemon, and then you start investing in this Pokemon. You start training him, you start collecting your Pokemons. You found a Pikachu. You found a Pikachu, you don't want to lose Pikachu, because you are the only one from your friends who found a Pikachu, and you want to show Pikachu to everyone that you got here. And that's your investment into the game. When this went through several loops, we got to internal triggers that you just have time to walk around, or you just have time and you start getting into Pokemon just because you like to play it. Or you know that when you're walking in the home and suddenly your device vibrates and you say, yes, probably this is Pikachu. You check, okay, it's not Pikachu, but still I will play a game for a few minutes. But today we are talking about user acquisition. So let's try to apply the same hook model to the user acquisition and how you can use it. So, what will serve our trigger? Our trigger that we like the most at Get Social is social push notifications. Everyone probably saw push notifications like, hey, come back to the game, your pigs are hungry. Like, you saw that. Everyone saw that. We prefer social push notifications. Imagine if your game had a chat, had a newsfeed, or any kind of social interaction between real users. And your friend messaged you inside the game. You got a push notification, hey bro, let's play a game. You don't want to abuse your bro. You're going to press the push notification and you're going to stay and play with your bro. So that could be a good external trigger. Next, we played with one bro, but we have a good bunch of friends that we also want to play with our amazing game. And we want our users to take an action. We want them to refer a friend. To refer a friend, remember that Facebook doesn't work. You need to implement it through Facebook Messenger, through WhatsApp, through KakaoTalk if you are a Chinese developer, whatever what works for your market, but implement the good social sharing features that you need. Okay, user did our action, he got invited his friend. Now he needs to get a reward. It can be a fast progression, it can be levels, it can be lives, whatever works for your game mechanics, you need to select that. But remember that this reward should be variable. Next, investment. More users I invite, I build a small social network inside the game. I like to play with my friends, and it's a social commitment. Like if I referred a game to my friend and I stop playing it, like I'm a bad bro. You build a social trust inside the game. And next we are going to internal trigger. You invited all your friends and now you need to bet them. I want to have more cars, I want to have better cars, I want to get further in the levels. And you get into this, like your gut feeling that makes you get back to the game again and again. And we are going to the next loop. We need to invite more friends, you need to get more free gold, more free coins. We are building more and more connected network inside the game, and we are going to the loop. Imagine how powerful is this. Of course, not many people implement that. It's much easier to have just advertisement that everyone is doing and have this ugly banner on top of your game. But you can do better. If you are not convinced yet, I'm going to show something that our data science team found just 2 months ago, because it was vacation time. Users that are acquired via referring a friend, users acquired via this hook model of user acquisition, they retain 30% more on a day 1. After day 1, you will get 30% more users. If this user was referenced by your friend. It's the data that we got from our biggest clients from a list that you saw on the first slide. But if you are not convinced with 30% on a day one, what about this? We saw numbers up to 60% people, up to 16% higher retention rate on day 30. Users who are invited and referred by their friends, 60% more, not in total, 60% more of those users are going to stay in the game after 1 month of usage. Think about it. If you are talking money-wise, it's data that we borrowed from our clients. It's not from our internal analytics, but average lifetime value of the user referred by from friend referrals is around 20%. So just by referring your friends, you will get more valuable users, and if they were bringing $10 normally, those users are going to bring $12 at the end of the month. To sum up, user acquisition is hard. User acquisition is expensive. What is worse, even if you buy traffic, most part of users are going to leave your game. But not everything is so bad. If you're an indie game developer or you're a big game studio, you have options. And you have to focus on a couple of basic things. First, make sure that your App Store listing looks like freaking fantastic. It should use perfect keywords, it should use catchy screenshots, the description should be engaging and interesting. From previous presentations, put the most interesting stuff about your game in the first 120 characters, into not more than tweets. 120 characters. Next, focus on the user activation. Make your user sign-in easy and defer login as much as possible. Provide a very nice onboarding experience, engaging tutorials, show how to use your game, show core mechanics, show how to spend money in the game, how to do in-app purchases. And finally, leverage word of mouth. It's powerful, trust us. We saw this on a lot of our games, a lot of our clients are top developers. This just works. Refer friends, you want to implement a hook model, implement a hook model. But implement something as social features, we believe that it's the most under-evaluated, not feature inside game development industry. You can be a badass in user acquisition. You have everything you need to do that. You have this presentation, you have tons of information around the internet. The question, are you going to implement this? And it's up to you. It's everything from me. Thank you. My name is Vitaly. Do we have time for questions?
Yes, of course. I think 5 minutes.
5 minutes for questions. Yes, please.
I want to ask you the cheapest way of...
Okay, now we can switch to Ukrainian,
Окей.
if you want.
Мене цікавить, що буде, в принципі, дешевшим? Зробити хорошу ігру чи зробити хороший user acquisition?
Я тобі так скажу, якщо в тебе гра сакс,
Да.
user acquisition тобі не допоможе.
Я думаю, що...
Скільки б ти не купляв користувачів, вони всі все одно пропадуть. Подивіться презентацію Майка з Амазона. Він навів кучу статистики, 56% вашого ревеню проходить від людей, які довго сидять в вашій грі. Ви маєте гру зробити цікавою, щоб люди довго залишалися. Бо ті, хто довго сидять в вашій грі, це ті, хто тратять гроші.
Це вже вопрос геймплея. Хорошо. У мене ще є пару вопросів. Я не можу зрозуміти, це окей, що великі гравці на ринку GameDev, що вони роблять такі помилки, типу, як ти зазначав, там, наприклад, Super Mario, наприклад, Super Mario. Вони ж все одно, кетчі, про них всі знають. І це із-за того, що вони раніше зробили щось дуже кльове, коли не було оцих всяких інтересних прийомів паблішинга, чи це із-за того, що вони просто далі роблять, чи чого вони в топі, чого вони кетчі?
Чого Nintendo в топі, це просто це Nintendo. Типа їхній бренд IP, ти проти Nintendo не попреш, всі знають Nintendo. Але чого вони роблять помилки, чесно, я сам не знаю. Я як побачив оцей рев'ю, я був тупо в шоці.
Ну, вони ж, мабуть, дуже багато трафіка на цьому теряють. То вони дурачки, виходить.
Получається так?
Получається так. І ще в мене був вопрос. Сінглплеєрні ігри без реалізації соціалок, без там чатиків, як ти розказував, вони скоро умруть чи що?
Ну, не мруть.
Ну,
чого вони мають? Є багато ігор, які хочеться грати офлайн.
В будь-якому випадку, типу, вони будуть отримати набагато менше value від юзерів, чим ігри з соціальною імплементацією, правильно?
Я тобі скажу так, я не експерт в цій зоні, я тобі скажу мою особисту думку. Моя особиста думка, що синглплеєр ігри, вони існували колись, існувати будуть і в майбутньому. Інша справа, я тобі можу сказати, чи варто туди запихати соціальні механіки? Мабуть, ні. Бо це синглплеєр гра, і воно тобі там просто не треба. Але якщо ти хочеш порекомендувати свою гру другу, тобі треба надати юзеру легкі інструменти, щоб це інтегрувати, щоб він таки міг запросити друзів. Це не є мультиплеєр, це не є елементи соціальності, це просто ти маєш дати своєму користувачу речі, щоб зручно користуватися твоєю грою.
Спасибо за ответ.
Будь ласка, там рука була перша.
Вы можете подсказать, что делать в ситуации, когда игра достаточно сложная изначально, и ее кривая обучения, то есть цикл, который необходимо человеку отыграть, чтобы вообще врубиться в игру, получается достаточно длинный. То есть одни люди не рекомендуют так делать, рекомендуют начинать с простого, но если игра в принципе сложная, то ее невозможно упростить, допустим, до элементарной, да, а потом сделать сложно. Например, Майнкрафт. То есть Майнкрафт реально игра успешная, и для того, чтобы понять все прелести игры, нужно не просто полазить там под землей, намайнить ресурсов и все. То есть, чтобы получить бонус, да, или как это называется, awards, нужно, не знаю, несколько недель просидеть, понять вообще, как крафтить можно вещи одни из других. То есть кривая обучения очень длительная. Как не потерять человека в сложной игре, требующей время на обучение?
Отож, питання було, що робити з складними механіками, і як пояснити користувачу краще, коли механіка складна і простий туторіал зробити не виходить, правильно?
Ну, допустим.
Знову ж таки, я не експерт в онбордінгу, але з моєї практики, що ми робили в Хеймі, ця 3D-шна вимошка, що ми писали на Unravel, вона була доволі складна і складною механікою. Ми розбивали на маленькі кусочки. Тобто ми показали саме то, без чого взагалі нікуди грати просто немає що. І показали кусочок геймплею користувачу, він побавився, там, один день побавився, пару годин побавився, де йому вистачає цього туторіалу, і починається наступний етап туторіалу. Чи це найкращий варіант? Не знаю. От я згадував сайт User on Board, відвідай його, в них є безплатна книжечка, на сторінок 100 щось таке. Вони розказують багато, вони наводять багато прикладів, як робили великі компанії, як робили маленькі компанії, що працювало, що не працювало. Можливо, ти знайдеш відповідь там. Будь ласка.
При увеличении друзей, скажем так, то есть используя WhatsApp там, или Facebook Messenger, используете ли вы какие-то мотивационные факторы для пользователя, которые привлекают и которого привлекают? Были какие-то эксперименты? То есть это не просто зайди поиграй, или зайди поиграй, я получу, или зайди поиграй, ты получишь?
Це вже up to developer, як реалізувати це, і все дуже залежить від твоєї ігрової механіки. Серед наших клієнтів реалізували обидва варіанти, які ти згадав. Деякі девелопери реалізують. От, наприклад, ми інтегровані були в Nibblers. Зараз ми вже не інтегровані в Nibblers, бо вони перевели. Nibblers – це гра від Орвіл, серії про пташок. І зараз нас видали, бо вони перевели гру в режим мейнтенансу, але що в них було? Тобі, щоб отримати ті самі сердечки, ти маєш запросити друзів. Але вони давали сердечки тобі тільки коли юзер починав грати. Вони використовували наші інструменти, і ми трекали, коли користувач починає, ми дергали веб-хук на бекенді, ровію, юзер зробив екшен, який, тобто вони досягли оцього, виконали екшен, який ми від них вимагалися, і ровію нараховували на аккаунт користувача, що запросив, оці сердечка. Ти там запросив 10 друзів, ти отримав більше сердечок і такого плану. Тобто це один варіант реалізовувати. Інший варіант, наприклад, Glue Entertainment, вони нагороджували обох користувачів. Вони нагороджували, коли ти запрошуєш користувача, і як тільки ти логувався, ти отримував бонус, чувак, от тобі 500 XP, щось такого, бо тебе зареференсив друг. Типу, тебе кльовий друг Віталій, він тебе зареференсив на тобі 500 тугриків якихось.
Ну а если сравнивать, то есть когда нет бонусов, есть, если там...
Полюбе треба. Ну, бонуси полюбе потрібні,
Ага.
але питання, тоді треба вже дивитися в механіку своєї гри, де краще їх дати.
Хорошо, такой момент еще. Сталкивались вы когда-нибудь с реджектом от Apple за то, что вы награждали пользователя за получение каких-то бонусов? Я сталкивался. То есть у меня была реферальная система, в которой пользователь при входе по их введении там, кода реферального кода, он получал тот по 10 поинтов. В итоге заражение приложения сказали, что вы не можете, ну это как бы вы incentivize трафик делаете, то есть за счет того, что пользователь регистрируется, чтобы получить поинты, как бы вы играете с рейтингом и заряжать нельзя. Пришлось убрать.
У нас такого не було.
На прошлой неделе.
Окей. Давай поговоримо пізніше, після цього це цікавий кейс. У нас же багато клієнтів, більше як сотні ігор, у нас ще такого не було.
Разные бывают.
Окей, давай поговоримо, дуже цікавий кейс. Ще питання? Будь ласка.
Чи є в тебе зараз в голові цифри, наскільки ваші інструменти допомогли збільшити аудиторію, наприклад, за місяць? Скільки нових юзерів прийшло саме з ваших інструментів? І наступне питання, чи є географічна залежність? Ну, тобто в різних країнах активність юзерів різна, чи можеш сказати, в яких країнах такі інструменти допомагають більше, в яких менше?
Отже, було два питання. Перше питання, чи я маю дані, наскільки наші інструменти допомагають збільшити ком'юніті, і чи я маю цифри в голові. Коротка відповідь – ні. Я в голові цих цифр не маю, але я маю абсолютні цифри. Але абсолютні цифри тобі багато не скажуть, бо ти не знаєш аудиторії. А проблема в тому, що і ми аудиторії не знаємо повністю. Я можу подивитися прямо зараз в аналітику внутрішню, але цифри за місяць не так просто порахувати. Але абсолютні цифри я тобі потім можу сказати, просто камера пише, я не можу такі дані сказати на камеру. А друге питання, чи залежить від країни поведінка в запрошеннях, правильно?
Ну, я знаю, що вона залежить, просто наскільки, наприклад...
Цих даних ми ще не рахували. Це, до речі, цікаве питання для нашої Data Science команди, які дуже люблять бавитися з даними і порахувати цей, ретеншн від цієї когорти. Ще питання? Так, бачу, дівчинка. Останнє питання, правильно?
Згадував за sign-in, що він може відбивати там 56% кастомерів. А який це мається на увазі sign-in? Це через Google Plus, чи можливо якраз твоя окрема якась, яку ти імплементуєш для гри, окремо sign-up? Ти реєструєшся в цій інформації?
Отже, питання було, звідки взята цифра 56% і при якому саме сайніні 56% юзерів втрачаються на початку гри. 56% цифра – це з ресерчу сайту Full Це generalized number. Я не знаю, як це на українську перекласти, але я думаю, ви зрозуміли. Це середнє значення по палаті. Тобто, все залежить від твоєї реалізації. Якщо в тебе там чисто введіть логін, пароль, ніяких соціальних логінів, я впевнений, що там і 90% користувачів втратить. Я ненавиджу створювати нові паролі. 56% це середня температура по палаті, яку хлопці знайшли згідно свого дослідження. І я думаю, там враховуються і люди, які реалізовували соціальний логін, і без нічого взагалі. Але логін без нічого взагалі, це треба зовсім не любити своїх користувачів, щоб таке реалізовувати в себе в грі. Найкраще, що зараз ми рекомендуємо нашим клієнтам, тому що ми надаємо також інструменти для побудови внутрішніх ком'юніті. Власне, маленький фейсбучик, що ти можеш собі в групу ставити. Ми надаємо фічу, яка називається анонімні користувачі. Тобто, як тільки користувач починає свою гру, в нього зразу з'являється ID-шка. В нього немає імені, нічого, але в нього з'являється ID-шка, і в нас в аналітиці ми трекаємо все до цієї анонімної ID-шки. На 3-му рівні, на 5-му рівні, на 100-му рівні, коли механіка гри дозволяється зробити, коли це найкраще згідно механіки гри, з'являється логін, і тоді ми прив'язуємо реальне фейсбучне ID до нашого внутрішнього ID. І так ми маємо повністю історію поведінки цього користувача, ми не втрачаємо жодних даних, і ми маємо реальне identity цього користувача. І це те, що роблять всі великі гравці. Просто ми це зробили доступно десь. Питання? Якщо в когось є ще питання, я тут, я доступний. Я буду на вечірці, можемо поговорити за бокалом вина, можемо поговорити тут. Всім дякую за увагу.